You are now listening to Season 1 of the VMX Show.
White as the cleanest snow.
Hey everybody, NecroVMX here, and welcome to episode 9 of season 1 of the VMX show. And what you were just hearing, well, obviously that was a tribute to Zelda. That was Hyrule's Angel, the Sleeping Beauty by the game music band Game Over. And that's off of their first album, Nesperado, as in NES, Nesperado. They had a second album that came... Actually, that was their second album. The first album was called Nintendo Metal, then came Nesperado. And recently I got good news for Game Over fans, and I think a couple of people out there just became Game Over fans just from hearing that. They have a new song out that's based on Cutman's stage from the original Mega Man, and I'm going to be playing that a little later on the show. I haven't heard it yet. I'll be hearing it for the first time. But, yeah, that's going to be cool. So, we'll play it, talk about it, and we'll see what happens. I got Kakeo Silverton coming by. I got lots of news. I've got a lot of questions to answer. It's going to be a great episode, so here we go. So let's start with one thing I wanted to mention was that last week's show, which I didn't have a guest on, and because I didn't have a guest, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to fill up a whole hour just with myself again? Because I didn't think I had that much to talk about, and it turned out I had a whole lot to talk about. And one thing that I was definitely planning on mentioning, and I didn't get around to, was the whole Roger Ebert controversy, where of course he said that video games not only are not art, but could never be art. And of course there's been a lot of backlash in the video gaming community from that. And of course my opinion is he's just looking for a fight at this point. He's doing the same thing that he did with Transformers fans. You know, I don't know. Maybe he just needs attention. I don't know what it is. But I did get to talk with it about that with Kakeo Silverton, so later on in the show when we have her on, I'll be talking about that. But right now, let's get to your questions and comments. So starting off with a frequent contributor to our questions and comments section, sserpent21, and this is what he has to say. Hello, NecroVMX. I'm getting tempted to pick up a Nintendo DS for its Dragon Quest games, but do you think the XL version is worth getting, or should I stick with the littler, regular, and less expensive one? I have big hands. Is that an issue with handhelds? I don't know. I've never owned a handheld. Well, I have big hands also, and I have a DS Lite, which is the second generation of it, and I found that the DS Lite works perfectly fine. It's a little thicker than the DSi, but then again, the DSi XL, the one you're talking about, is actually gigantic. So portability becomes an issue. The DSi XL was created around the concept of, you know, sharing it with other people, having it sit there on a table and whatnot. Honestly, the DSi XL, I guess it's if you have like really monster hands, like if you have gorilla hands, then yeah, go for it. But otherwise, yeah, go with the cheaper version, either the DSi or the DSi. Or the DS Lite. Of course, they both have their advantages and drawbacks. The DSi, of course, has the 2 cameras, the new apps, and you'll have access to DSiWare. And the DS Lite plays Game Boy Advance games. So, there you have it. Moving on the topic of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, have you heard any word of hidden characters for the game, like the original version did? I think having special alternative player characters, like Bone Claw Wolverine, Ryu with Murderous Intent, Silver Centurion Iron Man, Red Hulk, or even Alex with Gil's red and blue skin, among others, would be a cool idea in addition to the hopefully full roster. That's a terrible idea. They should, no, don't do that, please. Who wants to have 5 million versions of the same character? I do want to mention that what you call Silver Centurion Iron Man is a separate character. It's actually War Machine. He does play a little different, but still, can we get away from every character being like the same thing? Can we please just have unique characters? I don't need a Wolverine and a Bone Claw Wolverine. I don't need a Ryu and an Evil Ryu. It's stupid. Use that space on the disc or whatever for more original content, whether it's new characters or backgrounds or whatever. Please do not do that, Capcom. One more thing before I go. Like the Howard Stern show of old, fuck Dragon Ball Z. Thank you and have a great day, sserpent21. I don't know what you're referring to. I mean, obviously, I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan. I can't stand that anime crap, but I don't know what that has to do with Howard Stern. I'm also a Howard Stern fan. Maybe he said something about Dragon Ball Z. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. This is from 2006 Socrates, and he's got a comic book related question. Hey Necro, here's another question. Out of the famous American comic book companies DC and Marvel, which do you like better? Is it, well, that's an obvious one. If you've been to my channel, I have the Green Lantern as my icon. I'm a DC fan. Give me, Batman and Superman and Green Lantern and the Flash and all that. I mean, Marvel. I was really into it when I was a teenager. I mean, I was all into Spider-Man and everything, and the Hulk and all that, and the X-Men. And now I think I still read their Deadpool books, but other than that, I can't stand Marvel anymore. They've just taken every character that they've had and buried them under a ton of lameness. Like, Spider-Man with the emo Spider-Man, and then there was then he became a mystical guy, and then it was One More Day and Brand New Day, and before that he had the purple and gold suit. I don't even want to get into it. The Hulk was pretty cool for a while until they decided to have, Red Hulk in there. I don't know what the hell that's all about. I didn't even want to get it. Yeah, Red Hulk, he doesn't even beat people up, he shoots people. What the fuck? So I'll stick to DC Comics. And you say, is it because their protagonist, antagonist, powers, art style, writing, themes, and so on? It's just because of the general quality in my tastes. Oh, and by the way, have you seen Kick-Ass yet? Would it be lame to say it kicked ass? Just had to mention that. Yeah, that would be lame. That would be very lame. I haven't seen it, don't care to. So, hope that clears that up. Moving on, here's a new contributor to the questions and comments section. This is Steven Gameworm88. Says, "Hi Necro. After watching your commentary videos on the Mega Man games from the original series, you convinced me to play Mega Man 4, which is your favorite. And I have to say, you do not disappoint. It is an awesome game with great music and challenging gameplay. But I can't call it my favorite, though, because I haven't beaten all the other games, only 4 and 5. Anyway, I was wondering, which is your favorite Mega Man soundtrack from the original series?" Oh, that's an easy one, 2. 2 has the best music. That's probably part of the reason why everybody seems to think 2 is the best game, which is woefully untrue, but it does have the best soundtrack, so definitely check that out. Okay, let's see who else we got here. Here's Gamer Holocaust. He just has a comment on last week's episode. Says that he just got done watching it and I have to say it was entertaining. I like the medley, he should have said, of the random game music. And yeah, I'll also wait to see what this new Xbox 360 Slim is all about. And Jay Meister has a comment. Not a question, just a comment. Keep the show up. I enjoy it. Glad to hear it. Anyway, let's see what's in the news. Got a lot of, not that much news, but some pretty significant stuff. Game Crazy looks like they're closing all of their remaining stores, all of them. And this is something that actually is kind of interesting to me. This piqued my interest. My friend Hugh had worked at a Game Crazy for years and years and years. He gave that up. I want to say 2 years ago he quit Game Crazy, and now he sells insurance, and he's much happier doing that. But judging from what he's told me of their business practices, the way the companies run, the kind of employees they have, and everything, I'm not surprised they're closing. I'm not surprised. I mean, Movie Gallery closed nearly 200 of its 680 underperforming stores last year in September. And in February, they filed for bankruptcy and closed hundreds of additional Game Crazy stores. There's only 250 Game Crazies left in America, and they are going to be closing all of them. So, if there's a Game Crazy near you, you might be seeing a liquidation sale real soon. So keep an eye out for that. Been talking about Super Street Fighter 4 a lot recently, of course, because we were leading up to its release. I did a couple of videos on it. I'm happy to announce that it is doing very well in sales. It has topped 1 million already, and as of today, it's Sunday right now. It just came out last Tuesday, so it hasn't even been out for a week, which shows a very, very strong and fast start. And I wanted to comment on this because I think a huge part of why it's selling so much so quickly, I mean, yes, it has a strong fan base and lots of new content and everything. Here's what I think is causing it to be such a huge success: low price. It's only $40 in a world where most games are $60. I think that's a big deal. And I think people are saying maybe they're a little on the fence about picking up Super Street Fighter 4, and they hear it's only $39.99, and they're like, well, you know what? For that price, let me check it out. So I hope this encourages more game companies to release lower-priced games. Not that I think games are too expensive, but I think that every now and then a lower-priced game, not necessarily a budget title, but a really big title like this that maybe is just an update. You know, maybe Madden doesn't need to be full price every year. It doesn't even need to come out every year as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of Capcom, they've registered a trademark for Mega Man Universe. Not sure what that's about, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. It might be a game, it might be something else, but all we know is that Capcom now owns the trademark for the phrase Mega Man Universe. So we'll see what that's all about. BlazBlue, which was a great two-dimensional fighting game that came out for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, recently had a PSP version. Now there's going to be a DSi version, except it won't be a port of the game. It's going to be called BlazBlue Super Melee. It's spelled like that, too. Super Melee Brawlers Battle Royale. And it's going to have like cutesy, super deformed characters, and sounds like it could be kind of fun. I think that it's going to be, you know, this cartoony thing. Here's what the ESRB had to say about it. This is an arena fighter game in which players control small, stubby fighters that compete in fighting matches. Last man standing, hitting opponents to collect soba noodles and capture the flag. The cartoony characters mostly punch and kick each other in the arena. Characters stagger back and forth and cry out in pain when hit. It's already out in Japan, so hopefully it'll be coming to the United States for the DSiWare pretty soon. This I found interesting. Some schmuck beat Bejeweled 2, one of those games that is not supposed to be beaten. Not that it has an ending or anything, so I'm not saying go boot up Bejeweled 2 and get 2.1 billion points in it. Actually, it's 2,147,483,647 points, which is the highest score that the game is capable of processing. If you're wondering why they picked that number, it's just because they said, well, you know, why not? That seems high enough. Nobody's ever going to play it that much. Apparently, some asshole named Mike Lied just has absolutely nothing better to do with his time. Played over 2,000 hours of Bejeweled 2 to beat the game. I'm sure he was playing on Endless, so he couldn't lose. It says that his family celebrated, probably because he'd be doing something else. I just, you know, what an asshole. Fans of House MD, this is an interesting one. House is getting its own video game, and I'm just looking at the artwork for it. It's hilarious. It almost looks cel-shaded, but it's so bizarre to see video game versions of like House and Taub and Hadley and Chase and Foreman and well, this is what Legacy Games' website says about the House game. Play as Dr. House and the skilled staff at Princeton Plainsboro Hospital as you race to unravel medical mysteries. Track down the correct diagnosis by interviewing and examining patients, performing lab tests, surgery, and more. The clock is ticking, but be prepared for multiple twists and turns before you solve each of the 5 cases. I don't know how this is going to turn out. It's probably going to be something I'll try, but all I got to say is this. Here's your walkthrough. It's never lupus. And I want to end the news segment with a look at the Japanese sales charts, as I usually like to do. Looks like New Super Mario Bros. Wii finally got dethroned. It finally got knocked off of the top-selling games in Japan. Nier Replicant, which is a Square Enix game for PlayStation 3, is the new #1 seller, selling 60,000 units, knocking New Super Mario Bros. Wii for the Wii down to #2 with 29,000 units. And if those of you wondering, New Super Mario Bros. Wii in Japan has sold 3.7 million copies, so that's one hell of a successful game. Rounding out the rest of the top 10, at #3 is Tokyo Monohara Shi Karaso no Mori Gauken Kitan, which is some PlayStation Portal game. All I know is Japan, 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 Atlas PSP. That sold 22,000 copies. Friend Collection on the DS is at #4 with also 20,000 copies. #5, East the Oath in Felghana for the PSP at 16,000 copies. At #6, Pro Baseball Spirits 2010 by Konami for the PSP, sold 16,000 copies. #7, Wii Fit Plus for Nintendo Wii with 15,000 copies. And #8, Mario Kart Wii for the Wii. Of course, for 14,000 copies. And number 9, the Elder Scrolls 4 Game of the Year Edition for the PlayStation 3, making a surprise appearance there with 12,000 units sold. And number 10, Pokemon Ranger Path of Light for the DS with 12,000 units. So Mario Kart reappeared there. That's interesting. That hasn't been on the top 10 in a while. It could be due to a new marketing campaign that they have in Japan, which features popular celebrities playing the game. And it's been around for 2 years, the game. It was released in 2008, so that's pretty amazing. The hardware chart is pretty much the same shit as usual. PSP is the number one selling console with almost 29,000 copies sold of the PSP. Then comes the PlayStation 3, the Wii, the DSi-LL, the DSi, the DS Lite, the Xbox 360, the PSP Go, and the PlayStation 2, rounding out the top 9. Can't be a top 10 because there's really no other consoles out right now. But yeah, there you have it. That's the sales chart. So, so now I'm gonna welcome Kikeo Silverton to the show. And we're finally welcoming Kikeo Silverton back to the show.
Hello.
Hello. For those of you who don't know why I'm saying back to the show, we did record a segment, but the audio did not come out right. So here we are recording it again.
Well, it's good to be back on the show. Kinda.
It's good to be back on the show for the first time, eh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So what are you here to talk about with me today?
Well, the first time that we recorded this, we talked about Final Fantasy 13, and at the time I didn't think you had finished the game, but now you have finished the game.
I have now,
yeah.
So that has become more appropriate.
Yes, and I believe when we were talking about it the first time, I was talking about the summons, because I think the summon system in most of the Final Fantasy games play an intricate part in the plot.
Yes.
And in this Final Fantasy, I just disliked the summons, mostly from an artistic standpoint, because they were so terrible.
I didn't mind them from an artistic standpoint, but I didn't think that they were very functional.
Yeah, they weren't that useful in battle, in my opinion, unless under certain circumstances.
The adamantoises.
Yes,
Not
and
right
and I really didn't like the transformation, like this.
I like that. So, well, different tastes,
Yeah, well, we talked about this last time about how Transformers might have influenced the game.
I think definitely, yeah.
Especially because they transform into things like cars and motorcycles,
yeah.
and
well, you got Saz in his little hot rod car there,
Oh, he was one of my least favorite summons. I liked him, the character, the most, but his summon, I was just like, ugh, terrible.
To be honest, because the summons were so not functional in the game, I only used Odin and whatever the hell Vanille's is called.
Oh, the armed monster creature.
She calls it Hedicon, but it has a much longer name.
Yeah, I didn't really like that one. It was kind of freakish and almost Cthulhian in concept.
Cthulhu? I didn't think of that. Well, actually, what I used hers for is to knock down the adamantoises, and then I would cast the death spell on them.
Yeah,
and that's how I would kill them. Because even leveled up almost all the way, near the end, those things wipe you out like nothing.
Yeah, and some of the battles can go on forever. Seriously.
I found that I've beaten the game, but I found that a lot of these missions are so much harder than the last boss. I got stuck, before I beat it, I got stuck on these 3 tonberries, and then I decided, well, let me just go back to Cocoon and finish up the plot, and then I'll come back and I'll be stronger. And now I'm stuck on this other guy, I forget what he's called, the Rakavicha Dida, whatever the hell it is.
They sure did get extravagant with their names in this game.
It sounds Icelandic, so I can't pronounce it.
They also used a lot of apostrophes and whatnot.
Lasi, Falsi, Seath. They sure love their apostrophes.
I didn't really appreciate the naming system on 2 points. One, some names got too extravagant, and on another point, the names of their characters were just ridiculous. Do they need to use every weather under the sun? I mean, is somebody going to be named Partially Cloudy in the future?
Partially Cloudy.
I'm just
Well,
saying.
yeah, you had Sid Reigns. That's an obvious one.
I,
Um,
I just I didn't like the names of the main characters except for Saz. Again, I thought that was the only one that
Saz
kind
is,
of
yeah.
sounded like a name.
Yeah, well, you got one girl, Vanille's French for vanilla. You got Lightning. Where's Thunder and Stormy Cloud and Frowny Face and well, they said
Hurricane. We're gonna get somebody named Hurricane in the
they
future.
did they
Watch.
did say what her real name was at one point. I think it was Claire.
Yeah, I think they did too, but I
She
wasn't really
looks like a
paying
Claire.
attention.
She
Looks like
seems
a
yeah,
Claire.
she seems like a Claire. I don't know why. She just does.
She looks like a man, in
Oh,
my opinion.
well, I
She looks
guess
more male than female.
Cloud Strife with tits, right?
Exactly.
I didn't, you know.
Only not the wheelchair scene, huh?
Uh, or
Oh,
the hot tub scene.
or cross-dressing scene.
Yeah,
Although I guess she could be.
yeah.
No, she's wearing a skirt.
Come to think of it, there's a lot going on in Final Fantasy VII.
That's true. I
Yeah,
really liked Final Fantasy
going on a
VII.
date with Barrett, or
On a date with Bear.
awkward.
Oh, yeah,
A little bit of a
exactly.
bromance thing going on there. Who knows?
Oh, Seven had a lot of interesting side quests, in my opinion. It was a fun game to play, but the plot really
I
irritated me at some
I
point.
gotta agree with you 100% on that. It is playable. It's a fun game, but the plot, my God.
It's the only RPG in which I've ever played where the main character is literally in a wheelchair pretending to be a vegetable for a portion of the game.
Why not?
I'm just saying, what?
Why not? Yeah.
Everybody always talks about how cool Cloud is, and he was
Yeah.
in a wheelchair. Does everybody forget this?
Cripple Cloud.
Exactly.
Cripple Cloud.
Exactly.
Now, all right. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about because in the last episode, I didn't get the chance to talk about it, but Roger Ebert says games aren't art. Now, after beating Final Fantasy 13 and watching the ending and all the cutscenes, the 4 million cutscenes between the last boss's first form and the last form, and then the 4 million cutscenes that make up the ending. And I gotta agree with what Penny Arcade says. Video games are nothing but art. They're art piled on top of more art.
I would definitely agree with you that I think video games are art, but I think what Ebert is talking about is more like a painting art, something that you can just go and view and experience. And I don't think he really touches on storytelling or any of those other kinds of art,
Well,
because
actually,
art includes a huge category of.
of course, yeah. Well, actually, what he said was that no video game will ever have a lasting impact to be called art.
Hmm.
And I mean, we think now of games like Eco,
Yeah, that
Pikmin.
was.
You know, just I don't understand where he's coming from on that. Obviously, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but I don't know why it is. I think he's become something of a provocateur. He's trying to be provocative. Like last summer, he was fighting with the Transformers fans about the second Transformers movie, and it almost reminded me of what I do with wrestling fans. And I mean, at least I admit it's a joke. But coming off and saying, anyone who liked this movie is, like a Neanderthal, and video games can never be art, and all this, and such a blanket statement to not only say that they're not art, but they can never be art.
Well, I'm just going to come out and say it, but he's old. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
but his mind is kind of osteifying, and I don't think he's understanding that this is a way of the future. I mean, video games are just going to get bigger and better and more art-like. I know when his
but
speech he was talking about, somebody said video games right now are like the cave paintings, and that they'll eventually become these fantastic works of art like we know now, like they're in the
well,
beginning
I
stage.
think we're a little more evolved than that in the gaming landscape here. But I mean, I gotta say, back to what Penny Arcade said, it's art piled on top of more art because it's three forms of art in one. You have images, you have words, and for storytelling, and you have music, and it's all in one.
True that.
So
I seriously think he was talking more about picture form of art than he was anything else, because his huge speech didn't really include that much storytelling, and
well,
it's basically an interactive novel. Video games,
how many games has he played? That's what I want to know.
yeah, like one maybe,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even to completion.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's thinking of Frogger.
Frogger. There's the cave painting right there.
Yeah,
Frog.
Frogger's the cave painting when, you had to use your imagination to figure out what the hell it's supposed to be.
Is that
Is
a
that a
truck
fly?
or
Is
person?
that a school bus or what is going on here?
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know. I think video games are a form of art. I think they're just different than what he's used to. Like I'm saying, he's old. He tends to think that art's nothing but this thing on a canvas or something.
Hmm.
I don't think he's thinking of it.
Well, I mean, we live in a world where somebody poops and then forms the poop into Mother Teresa, and that gets put in a gallery. So the fact that
Oh.
video games are being disrespected in this way kind of bothers me, because there's these people. They're going. I mean, you go to some art galleries in New York City, and you can go in and you can just literally watch people fucking, and that's the exhibit. It's just two
Oh.
people fucking, and they call this live performance art. But video games, something that has, there's so much design and thought, and like I said, it's storytelling, it's art, it's music, it's images, words, and sounds. And to
Well,
say that's not art, I mean, that's not just add a touch, that's ignorance.
well, it could also be a thing of disgruntlement. People in the art field like to think of themselves as like elite aristocrats, and the thought that people like video game designers could also be in their category. Oh, they're artists, that could offend them.
Maybe it's because they're making money off of their art.
Maybe they're
Yeah.
making money off of it. Oh,
You're not a real artist unless you're starving, right?
yeah, exactly. And especially modern art, like you're saying, people fucking in museums of
And
poop.
poop, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it,
Outsider art. Have you ever heard of outsider art?
no, haven't heard of
It's
outsider art.
basically accidental art. It's art made by like a mental patient or like somebody who's retarded
Elephants.
or an animal. Yeah, it could be monkeys. It could be and they basically just throw something together, and then some yuppie comes and calls it a sculpture and sells it for $30,000.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. People in the art field, art professionals, they're usually very elitist, and they probably don't like video games, and they scoff at it because that's not a part of the elite.
But
And
I never saw Ebert being part of that because he's so much of a writer. And I don't know. I just like I said, I think he's trying to be provocative. He's trying to start an argument. He's trying to keep himself relevant. And after finishing Final Fantasy 13, and I couldn't help but think it was a work of art. Especially, I mean, of all the different ways that you could easily criticize the game for being too linear. I mean, some people have pointed out that basically it's a game where you walk through a tunnel. And it's a little unfair because it's a lot more fun than that makes it sound. But they're not saying anything that's not true. So what's keeping your interest? The story, the images, the music, the gameplay. I mean, like I said, they did a whole thing where it was basically you walk from point A to point B in chapters 1 through 11, 1 through 10, and then 12 and 13, and you had this one chapter where you can go around and explore, and then that was a beautiful landscape and everything. Like I said, if it's not art, then
well, you
we
can
need to
say that the Mona
re-examine.
Lisa is just a painting of a person, of
Hmm.
some woman, and
Yeah,
saying it like that makes it seem totally bland, like who cares? A
chick
painting of a
smiling.
woman. Yeah. But it's the experience of seeing it, of looking at it, of that whole what's her emotion really kind of questioning when
He
you
was
actually
tickling
look
her
at
feet.
it, tickling
He
her
was
feet.
tickling her feet. No, and I'm glad you mentioned Mona Lisa because I'm also into comic books, and one comic that I'm into is called Invincible, and sometimes the guy who does it, Kirkman, he'll do something that's almost entirely a fight scene, and he'll get these complaints. Oh, it only took me 5 minutes to read, and he says, that's kind of an insult to the artist. Because if you're just reading the word bubbles and just glancing at it, you're not appreciating the art. And, it's kind of like saying, oh, the Mona Lisa, it only took me 2 seconds to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Now,
that's what I'm trying to
now
say.
Final
It's that
Fantasy
you could,
took me 60 hours to complete, so obviously there's something substantial there.
yes. Well, what I'm saying is that people oversimplify everything, and if you simplify anything down, it could easily sound like crap. Like I just said, the Mona
Oh,
Lisa.
yeah.
It's just a
Oh, yeah.
painting of some lady. Final Fantasy 13, it's just a big fat line tunnel you walk through. I mean, it's more about the experience. You have to appreciate it, and I think A lot of people just don't want to appreciate it.
Super Mario Brothers is a game where a blue-collar worker saves the Mushroom Princess from a turtle.
Oh,
I mean,
that sounds like a drug trip more than anything else.
well, sometimes I wonder about Miyamoto because everything that he comes up with is so influenced by Alice in Wonderland. And, well, it's funny because everybody says Alice in Wonderland was a drug trip. It's all about drugs and everything. And, the reality of it is so much more disturbing that it was basically a story that this guy wrote to keep his 9-year-old girlfriend amused while they were on a cruise. So that's even worse. But, but everything like the mushrooms make you big and you go down the pipes and there's a lot of really weird surrealist stuff found in games, especially now that the technology is there, where things can be done in a 3D environment and it doesn't look like crap. Like,
I think video games are losing some of their surreal because of that. Like a lot more realistic things are taking place in video games. There hasn't been a new game series where you do things like go down pipes.
Well, I think there are, just not the mainstream games. And personally, I find the hyper-realistic graphics to be boring because everything is the color brown.
Or gray.
Yeah, brown and gray. A little splash of red here and there. I mean, I like stylized graphics. I like cartoony stuff. Look at Legend of Zelda. I was a huge fan of Wind Waker, and the graphics were a huge part of that. Twilight Princess, yeah, technically you could say it had more advanced graphics, but in the end of the day, which one did I enjoy more? I personally enjoyed Wind Waker more.
I did enjoy Wind Waker more than Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was necessarily so much with the graphics. I just thought Twilight Princess was mildly boring at certain points.
I think Twilight Princess was a little too easy.
It was easy, and there were a lot, especially in the beginning. It was just long and stretched out and doing things that just felt really repetitive.
I didn't mind that so much. That's how Zelda usually is, though. I mean, people said the same thing about the end of Wind Waker, where you're doing a lot of sailing around looking for the Triforce pieces.
Well, I think I'm more of like, I really want to see the story, and I usually go straight for the story, and when things are holding me up from the story, like collecting those stupid bugs or sailing across the ocean, I'm like, where is the story? I want to see the end.
And I love the stories, but I'm usually so much about building the character up and finding things and everything, and that's why it takes me so long to beat RPGs.
Yeah, you were telling me before that you like to do all the side quests and complete everything, and I'm more of a minimalist. I want to see the story right now, and if I liked the game a lot, I'll go back and do the side stories, but
Well,
I want to see what happens.
I got burned on that, and I told you the story, but I'll mention it again for the sake of posterity for the show. Breath of Fire 4, I was so into the story that I did a very minimalist run, where I got to the point where I was so impatient to find out what happens next that I was going through dungeons and just trying to avoid enemies any way I could, running away from them half the time. And I got to the end, and I was nowhere near leveled up enough to kill the last boss, and there was no hope. I couldn't do anything. I had to start the game over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was definitely a good game, and I own it, and I love that story. And one of the things, if anybody's ever played the game, there's a part where you can get the baby dragon transformation.
the Star Drop, or I think it's called
Yeah.
Star Drop. Yeah.
Well, it takes
It's
a long
cute.
time in game to get it. Like you have to actually wait a certain period of time in game, and I just couldn't wait for it. Like I was like, no, I can't wait. I need to complete the game. So I never ended up getting the baby dragon transformation until years later. But
I did get it the second time around. I don't know why. I didn't even know about it the first time around.
I found it. I couldn't wait for it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're sailing across the ocean, waiting for the dragon,
Yeah.
pulling up bugs. No, I just
Yeah.
can't handle it.
No, I mean, I like in Twilight Princess, I found every single insect, every single heart piece. I mean, I don't know. I'm just a collector at heart. Look at me with the fucking GameCube games.
Yeah, you have a lot of GameCube games.
Yeah, something like 170 now. It's getting to be pretty extreme.
Seriously. I've never really collected anything quite like that except for Pokemon in a Pokemon game, but I'm girly like
Nothing
that. I
physical,
need all my
right?
animals.
Nothing
Yeah.
physical, right? Well, I also collect Star Trek DVDs, so there's that
Oh,
too.
Star Trek is good.
I know you're a Trekker as well. Speaking of which, you know what well, you know what I got my hands on the other day? I got the Star Trek Original Series remastered DVD set, and you wouldn't believe,
Remastered.
yeah, they remastered it. It looks beautiful too.
Nice.
And I mean, I remember reading about like what Leonard Nimoy said about it, and my reaction was similar to his. And they said, they remastered Star Trek. Not only did they restore it, but they went and they redid a lot of special effects. They added in things like, how you never actually saw a Klingon ship. They fixed that. Things like that. And Leonard Nimoy was like, how dare they? That seems like they're just doing that for the money. And then when he sees an episode, he's like, okay, I was wrong.
Huh. Is
It
this
looks
like
amazing.
the Star Wars remastered, or did they really just go in and touch it up so it looks
They did.
nicer?
They touched it up. They like mostly it's the exterior shots of the ship. They took out all those old clunky models and they put in nice CGI ones. Like the shots of the planets. You know how every planet was like a single color.
Yeah.
Like there was a green planet and there's a red planet. And they look like actual planets now. Things like that. I mean, there's no new scenes.
Well, that's good. That's what I was
So,
trying to. I really
and then,
dislike the Star Wars. They add in and completely new scenes type of
well,
thing.
I have mixed feelings about Star Wars, and I was actually talking about this the other day because we were watching Star Wars, and I feel some of those scenes were okay, but some of it was ridiculous. And of course, getting into the argument of did Greedo shoot first or what, you know, I have a friend, my friend Joe, who was over here, who's something of a Lucas apologist. He will never even hear anything bad about Lucas or Star Wars or anything. You can't criticize this at all. And I was talking about that, and he was trying to tell me why it does make sense. And I'm telling him, look, the whole point of the special editions was supposed to be he was putting things back that he either had to take out or that he couldn't have it to begin with
Hmm.
because he didn't have the budget. So what was it like? Somebody came up to George Lucas and said, "Well, you're budgeted for 568 laser blasts, but you have 569, so you're gonna have to cut out one blaster." And he's like, "Okay, I'll take out the one where Greedo shoots. Maybe in 30 years I can add it back in." It doesn't work like that. It was clearly kind of like the E.T. re-release where they take the guns out and they put in walkie-talkies.
Oh, yeah, well, I had
Trying to
this
make it
exact
less
conversation.
violent. And
This
what are they
exact
saying?
conversation.
What are they saying on the walkie-talkies? Where's our guns? Did you get a gun? I don't have a gun.
Oh man. Well, I've had this exact conversation about this before with George Lucas and this Who Shot First, Guido and whatnot. And I think it's because his mindset about things has changed. Way back in the day, the hero shot first, like in old westerns and things like that, high noon.
Oh yeah,
You go out
yeah,
to shoot, the hero
yeah,
always shoots first.
absolutely.
And now, 30 years later,
You know what
he's,
though?
I think,
I
more
want to amend
liberal
that. I
and
want to amend that because I don't think that Han Solo was supposed to be a hero when he was introduced. He was this greedy space pirate bastard who, was just going to get the money and run, and it wasn't until the end where he came back and helped them blow up the Death Star that he becomes a hero. So I thought it made sense that they introduce him as this guy who just blows this guy's away, no remorse, he's a total badass. And then when you watch the special edition, he's like, well, he got lucky. I mean, this guy misses him at point blank range, and then he shoots him. And then there's the other re-release where they
where he
shoot at the same
moves.
time.
Yeah. Well, there's one where he actually shifts to the side slightly, like where he actually kind of moves in an unnatural way, and it just ruins the
And
entire
then there
scene.
was the whole thing where did he step on Jabba's tail or not? Now,
True that.
because it was the scene that they had with the stand, and Jabba was going to be humanoid, and then when they made Episode 6, they decided he was going to be a giant worm. So when they put him in there, even though they made him significantly smaller, when Han walks behind him, they're like, okay, we'll just have him move up, and it looks like he's stepping over his tail, and then somebody says, wouldn't it be funny if he stepped on him? And obviously that kind of was too silly for the movie, so they took it out of the next version. How many fucking versions of Star Wars are we going to have, though? Now it's going to be released, in 3D and on
3D.
they've
Well,
talked about it.
Lucas at one point said that movies are never completed; they're just abandoned. Like he has this
He
idea,
has a
he's always
point.
going to work on it.
He has a point. And, like my friend Joe, he defends him in this way, and I do agree with that. He's an artist, and he says sometimes, he'll work on a painting for years. And sometimes you wind up showing an incomplete version. With Star Wars, I mean, I don't mind him touching it up here and there, adding, making the Death Star explosion better, fixing up the sound, but
Greedo shot first. That's revisionist. I don't understand it. And it happened with E.T. And I don't even know how we got on this, but there you
Yeah,
have it.
it's a little weird that we it came from Star Trek. We're jumping around
Oh,
here.
oh, because you asked if the remastered DVD. Oh, I was going to tell you, I picked that up, and it's a funny thing. These DVDs are very expensive because they're actually HD DVDs on one side and regular DVDs on the other side, and there's like 10 discs, so they're kind
Nice.
of expensive. And usually they go for about $100, and I saw it used in FYE for $60, and I said that's a great price, even used, that's a great price. And then when the girl rings it up, it was $40. You better believe I didn't say a damn thing.
Exactly. You just okay, $40.
$40. So I got a 60% discount off of the full price there.
Nice. That's the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Now, hopefully, I'm not lucky with seasons 2 and 3.
I see that you buy a lot of used things, but I really don't like getting used things. Every time I buy a used game, used DVD, anything, it's always fucked up. It's always broken somehow.
Well, there's a play and trade near me, and they fix these games very cheap. For $3, they'll fix a game or a DVD or even a CD. Well, I don't think CDs are worth fixing. You just burn a new copy. But like for example, I had some kids over. I did talk about this on the channel, and they were playing with my Xbox, and it got tipped over while Guitar Hero Smash Hits was in it,
That's happened
and
twice to me.
the game got a nasty circle scratch on it.
Yeah.
And faced with the opportunity of going and buying another $60 copy, I wound up taking it to Play and Trade for $3. They cleaned it up. It was brand new. You can actually still kind of see the scratch, but it plays fine. So I do feel safe buying those kind of things, but also it has to do with where you're buying from, too. I mean,
Well,
FYE has the 100% guaranteed. Even GameStop, if it doesn't work, you can take it back. It's a pain in the ass. I'd rather not.
well, I've just been burned one too many times, and every time now I just buy things new. Unless it's really expensive. I guess if it was $100 to buy the DVD set and I found it for 40, I would probably take that chance. Just
I
'cause
didn't even know
that's...
it was 40 until they rang it up.
Leave
That's
it
the
for
best part.
60. That's still a
60
pretty
is a
good
great price
discount.
because most of the places had it for like 80 used. So you know,
Yeah.
yeah. You mentioned that. I mean, another thing about buying games used, I found the biggest problem I've had is them putting the wrong disc in.
Yeah.
Now
That has happened a few times.
With GameStop in particular, it doesn't matter. Just get the used games because they call it new. And their definition of new is that it hasn't been played in a system. They could be playing hacky sack out back with it, but as long as they never put it in the system, they call it new. Let me ask you a question. When you pick up a new copy of the game at GameStop and you pick it off the shelf, is the game disc in there?
No. But
Then
I don't actually purchase games from GameStop for that exact reason. I
Yeah,
want to be able to take off the
exactly.
original casing myself.
A lot of the times, and I do this at Play and Trade, I just go to the front and I ask them. I'm like, "Do you have this game?" Because it's a new game, and they'll usually have it there, and you get it. If it's the shrink wrap's not on it, I don't consider it to be new. If
Neither
you
do
have
I.
to,
I
if
wouldn't
you
take
have
it.
to put the disc in there, I mean, like I said, they could have them out back playing frisbee with their dog, but they say, "Oh, well, it hasn't actually been in an Xbox, so it's new."
Yeah,
Bullshit.
no. Yeah, I don't purchase for that exact reason. I don't go to those stores to get them
You
from
know,
there.
and plus I got the Edge card, so there's an extra discount on used stuff there.
Mm.
It's barely worth it unless you buy a lot of used games like I do.
Well, if I was going to collect games for a system like you're doing, maybe I would start purchasing used, but since I don't do that, I always purchase my games new.
Well, new games that are coming out, like I could wait like a week and get it used, and usually you're only getting $5 off then anyway. You might as well just buy it new.
Yeah.
Why even do that? So yeah. But when I'm buying older stuff, well, GameCube, it's almost impossible to find new anyway. So
True
there's
that.
that
Except
too.
for maybe on eBay. I see a lot of new games on eBay.
They're expensive.
Oh, they're very expensive, but
That's not worth it. That is not worth it. I mean, you should see some of the things I've seen on eBay or on Amazon. Somebody had not only a complete new, but a shrink-wrapped copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on PlayStation 2, which is a very rare game. Probably, actually the rarest domestically released game. Selling it for $400.
Well, that game is very good, and I actually wanted to purchase it at one point because I really did love that game, but I didn't for that exact reason. Every copy ever is sold for an outrageously high price.
Yeah, well, you know what's... I mean, I had it for the Dreamcast, because I bought it when it was new, and then the disc got all scratched up, so I actually wound up downloading it and burning a new copy, which burning Dreamcast games is not simple either, so I had to do a lot of research on that. And I was playing that, and then the Dreamcast broke. So,
That sucks.
you know, it's like, yeah, you can get it on Xbox Live, but I don't have Xbox Live because the Xbox, that's one thing I don't understand about the 360. There's no wireless. You got to get an adapter that costs $100.
Oh, see, I just plug it in with wires because I don't want to buy an adapter.
Well, the modem's on the other side of the house, so it's not an option for me.
Oh.
Yeah, everything is wireless here, so, you know. But
Yeah.
that's
Well, you also don't play games online, right? I've heard you complain about that a bunch of times.
I don't play games online, but I do want access to the store. Like I go on the Wii, I go on the Wii Shop channel all the time. You know,
Yeah.
buying WiiWare games, buying Virtual Console. I've only ever bought one Virtual Console game, which was Paper Mario, but other than that, I do use those things, especially on the Xbox. I'm a big, Rock Band fan. I'd love to get on the Rock Band store.
Yeah, they've got a lot of
Guitar
songs
Hero
for
also,
Rock Band.
the same thing. So I would love to get like in the Guitar Hero store and on the Rock Band store. And originally I was going to get all those games on the Wii. But what happened was, the Beatles Rock Band was the first one. That came as a gift, and it was going to be on the Wii, but they were sold out. So I said, Xbox is fine. But then I can't get online with it, so...
Yeah.
So I have all the instruments for Xbox, so unless I feel like buying a whole other set of instruments or a wireless adapter...
Or you could just set a few hours for yourself on a weekend and move your TV and your Xbox to the room with the modem, plug it in, and for the next few hours just make sure you get everything on a
Have
list.
you seen my TV?
It is one of those big fat old ones, huh?
Yeah, it's a CRT, forget it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to think of other way. You could plug it into a monitor.
Just to get it in there, yeah, I guess, yeah.
You could do it with a monitor.
Yeah, I guess.
And then bam. See, you solved all your problems.
Or I could just get the wireless adapter. That seems easier right now.
Yeah, probably, actually.
Yeah. All right, well, we're just about out of time. Anything else you want to add?
No, we kind of talked about almost everything under the sun, so good times.
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. All right, well, it was great having you on the show. We'll have to have you on again.
All right, sounds awesome.
Hopefully we won't have as many full starts next time.
Yeah, true that.
True that. Okay. And back to the show.
I'm hanging on my breath, not a sound but the blood.
Wow, they haven't lost it, have they? That's Game Over with their new song, Lights Out, based on Cutman Stage from Mega Man. They, at the beginning, had a very kind of Megadeth sound to it, but I guess you could always attribute that to the original song. I've said it before, I'll say it now, and I will say it again in the future. Mega Man is metal as fuck. That's actually the second song that they've done based on... No, they've done 2 songs based on Mega Man. Before that, they did Flying High Through the Skull's Eye, was on Nesperado, which was based on the approach to Wily's Castle, I think in Mega Man 2, and they did Cataclysmic Clash, which was based on Clash Man Stage from Mega Man 2 as well. Just hope to hear more of those guys. It had been a long time since Nesperado came out, and it was only 6 songs. I mean, there was Flying High Through the Skull's Eye, there was Siege at Monstropolis, but that was another Mega Man song. Flying High Through the Skull's Eye was the intro to that. Siege at Monstropolis was the Wily stage. So they're, technically that's their 4th song then, Lights Out. Hyrule's Angel, The Sleeping Beauty, which you heard at the intro to the show. Transylvanian Temptation, which was also great. That was based on Castlevania. Addicted to Vengeance, which was based on Street Fighter 2. And For Those About to Climb, which was based on Ice Climbers. Nintendo Metal, the first album, had Cataclysmic Clash, which was the Crash Man stage. Grim Reaper, another Castlevania song. Nocturnal Persuasion, which I think was based on Gremlins 2 on the NES. Little Mac's Confession, which is based on Punch-Out. And Heavy Mario, which is based on Super Mario Brothers. And like I said, I hope they release another album soon, or maybe they can just do trickle songs here and there. They're really talented, and they, the nostalgia really comes through. Anyway, that's all the show I have for you this week. We'll join you next week. And we'll see what happens then. That'll be episode 10. Remember, we're only doing 12 episodes, and if any of you have me on Facebook, which probably a lot of you don't, and don't ask to add me unless you actually know me, but I did mention that there is going to be another show called The John and Joe Show, which is going to also co-star Joseph Kushner. I think I mentioned it on the YouTube, actually, that it's going to be DVD commentary tracks, sort of. We'll talk about that more in the future as we're getting close to it. But anyway, I shouldn't have even mentioned the Facebook thing. I'm only adding people that I actually know, so don't go looking for me. Anyway, VMX out. Hope to see you next week. Hope you enjoyed the show. And shut the fuck up.